to start, open up Screaming Frog, and you want to start configuring your settings. So go into Configuration, Spider, and I don't crawl any of the resource links. Those are more for a technical audit. I would crawl internal links, external links, canonicals, and pagination. Pagination could lead you into deeper categories that you might not find otherwise, so that would be good. Check links outside of the start folder, crawl outside of start folder, crawl all subdomains if you want to crawl the subdomains. Follow internal nofollow and follow external nofollow, and you want to crawl linked XML sitemaps. Usually the tool will find that automatically. As long as you have a robots.txt file and the XML sitemap is listed in there, it'll find it. But if it's not, or if you don't have a robots.txt file, you can add it manually. All right, in extraction, I'll do all the page details. Pretty much leave all this the way it is by default. Don't need any structured data. If you have a very large site, you might want to limit the crawl total, especially if you're finding that it's crawling into faceted navigation, filters, internal search results, where the crawl will just continue adding facets, for example, and it will just never end. So you might do that. And a better thing to do if you do run into that issue is to exclude those patterns. And I'll show you that in a second. You can limit crawl depth if you want. I think it's fine to let it crawl as deep as it needs to. Everything else here is fine. Rendering, I leave it at text only, but if you have a JavaScript website, you will have to set it to JavaScript so that the tool can read the content. For advanced, I leave these as they are. I follow redirects, follow canonicals. You can choose to respect noindex and canonicals and nextprev. If you do that, they won't show up in the crawl, and sometimes that can be useful to see those pages. So if you don't have a very large site, I think it's worth crawling those, because you might end up finding something that maybe the client no-indexed by accident, or maybe they were told by a previous SEO company that they should no-index a section of the site, when really it could be useful content. So sometimes that can be useful to not respect the no-index. A response timeout is fine at 20 seconds. I think this 5xx retries defaults to 0. I set it to 5 because sometimes you might get some 5xx errors while crawling, and after it retries, the issue will resolve. Preferences, you can set this to whatever you prefer. If you prefer your titles to be within 30 to 60 characters, that's what it's set at default. I think that's a good number to start with. And same with meta descriptions, 70 to 155. And that's all good. What else you can change here is if you're running into issues with the crawler not being able to get through for whatever reason, maybe the client has blocked crawlers in their robots.txt file, you can change that here. So go to robots.txt, settings, and you can tell it to ignore robots.txt, and it should crawl the site. That's not too common, but might be an issue you run into. All right, so here's exclude. This is where you would add filters to prevent the crawler from going into faceted navigation or search URLs, things like that. That might end up with the crawl never ending. It just keeps going through those filters. So you would change that here, and there's a user guide here. I won't go into it in this video, but you can go to Screaming Frog's website and learn how to set those up. All right, custom is useful. For example, say you have a blog and it's not in a subdirectory. All the URLs come directly off the root, and you're not able to see which pages are blog posts versus category pages or whatever else. Custom is useful for that. So you do a custom search and add, call this whatever you want. For example, let's say we're looking for blog posts. Contains text. You can also do regex. This would be a footprint that only exists on those blog posts. That way the tool is able to identify those. So it might be an author name or publish date, some sort of footprint in there. Maybe author, maybe it says author bio or something. And you can have it either look at the HTML, so it can go into the source code, or page text. And there's some other ones here, but I think HTML and page text are going to be the most common. All right, and then you want to go to API access. You're going to want to set up analytics, Search Console, and you can use Majestic, Ahrefs, or Moz, whichever one you have. We use Ahrefs here, so that's the one I set. If you have a Moz account, I believe you do need to pay for API access. So that's more than the Pro account. So you do have to pay for that if you want Moz to pull in data here. All right. And once that's all set, you should be good to go. Enter your URL and start the crawl.